So next on the agenda, we have Monica Dudenhoefer. I hope. Monica, are you
Yes,
there?
I have.
Oh, see, there's Monica. Welcome back. So the floor is now yours.
All right, wonderful. Well, I guess it's still morning for a few more minutes, although today with the rain, it sure feels like a good day to be snuggled up with a good book and a cup of hot chocolate or a good cup of tea instead of working, but here we are pushing along. The topic that I'm going to share with you all today is really discovering my resilience. And as I said in the session we did earlier in the month, I am very open about my experiences and happy to discuss them. And there's really nothing that's off limits as far as questions. If you do have questions that you feel uncomfortable bringing up in front of a larger group, feel free to reach out to me. These are, again, my personal experiences, but certainly things that are worth sharing. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my prepared remarks, and I'll go through the slides as well as we go along. So have you had a few moments that changed the trajectory of your life? Today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about mine. On December 3rd of 2018, I found myself waiting for a diagnostic mammogram. I had felt a lump several months previously, but had been too busy with life. New boss at work and moving my mom to live with me in Idaho, all the things that one puts ahead of one's health. I had visited my medical provider and she said, you need to get in immediately. So there I was. With Christmas fast approaching, it was actually nice to have a few minutes to sit and think while wearing my lovely pink paper vest. Personally, I was adjusting to having my 90-year-old mom move in with me, along with my husband returning from living overseas after 6.5 years. Professionally, I was at a turning point, not really satisfied with the work I was doing and wondering what the future might hold. I spent the afternoon being squeezed and ultrasounded and was scheduled for a biopsy on Wednesday. Fortunately, the mammogram tech made the decision to image my right breast too because it had been over a year since I'd been in for a mammogram. Tuesday was a big day for me at work. I'd been working on training plans for the operational facilities at the company where I was working, and I was presenting those to a less than receptive operations leadership team. It was difficult, but I managed. And then during the lunch hour, I got a call that there was a lump in my right breast as well that needed to be biopsied. And so I cried, I dried my tears, and put my armor back on and went back into the meeting and the discussion. Wednesday was a challenging one, another all afternoon of uncomfortable and unnerving medical experiences, which included multiple biopsies and more mammograms. Thursday morning, I had a check-in with my boss and was informed that I was being reorged out of my job. He said I could have leave in 2 weeks, but I needed to be gone by the end of Q1, and he'd be happy to give me glowing references. However, he was unable to tell me why I was no longer considered a valuable member of the team. Very disheartening. I immediately began reaching out to my network to try to find another role. At 4:35 that afternoon, I received word that 2 lumps were cancerous, one in each breast, and being the overachiever that I am, I had 2 different tumor types. The events of December 6, 2018 began a trajectory of discovering my resilience, my ability to bounce forward. Determining who to see for surgery, for oncology, for radiation, and researching everything to understand the options for treatment, especially since I had 2 different tumors, and figuring out my plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way through plan Z, really was the perfect distraction when you lose your job. My friends were amazed at my approach, that I was so strong. The reality was that I didn't have a choice but to begin problem solving immediately. Really, the prospect of not having health insurance was much more frightening than having cancer. Fortunately, the company did provide me with medical insurance, which was really a relief. The treatment was hard physically and emotionally. My friends were amazingly supportive, as were my girls and my mom. I rallied for several job interviews, and talk about resilience. Going to a job interview, just having had my head shaved, was a real test. And while I didn't get that first job, I did knock the interview out of the park. That question that always gets asked in an interview, how do you manage stress? And I gave the usual answer of, in my personal life, I run and I do yoga. In my professional life, I like to have someone that I trust that I can just vent to and walk out of the room feeling like I have a direction to move forward in. And so then during that interview, I said, well, in a week ago, I had my head shaved due to cancer treatment, and I think I'm handling the stress of this interview with no hair and knocking it out of the park. So it, really broke the tension in the room, and everyone had a good laugh. Chemo strips you of your hair, your health, and your identity. I was not a mom, nor was I a wife, nor a daughter, nor an employee, nor a friend. I was cancer. So in putting together this presentation, I wanted to share a few pictures with you all that, sort of track a bit of the journey. I unfortunately had to spend make a couple of trips to the emergency room and ended up staying in the hospital for a few days. These are my daughters. Megan, my older daughter, was in the middle of working on her master's at University of Manitoba in Winnipeg, Canada, and she came home and stayed with me for 6 weeks to help me get through the real heavy duty part of the treatment. And she was an amazing advocate. When I did have to go to the emergency room or to the doc in a box, she'd march into that front desk. My mom has cancer. She's not coming into this germ-infested place until you have a room ready, and was really an advocate for me, which was amazing. And it taught me how to be somewhat of more of a stronger advocate for my own health. My younger daughter, Maria, came and happened to come in for a surprise visit. I had no idea she was coming, and she flew in and ended up having to meet us in the ER. She is my child who wants to have nothing to do with medical stuff at all. And to her credit, she stayed with me both of the nights that she was in Idaho Falls. She stayed overnight in that uncomfortable chair in the hospital room to make sure that I was okay. With the treatment, I spent a lot of time in my bed. I thought this photo really captures, sort of my existence. Talk about Netflix binging time. I watched anything and everything on Netflix, and did a lot of reading as well. In this picture, I think it illustrates my lovely shaped head. I was very fortunate that when my hair fell out, I discovered, you know what? I don't have too many lumps and bumps in my head, and I look pretty good. So I felt like I rocked the bald head thing as far as that goes. Some cousins came to visit me from Canada and had brought these socks that they had picked up at a hockey fundraiser for a young girl who had cancer. And so I blocked that out because, that's the right thing to do from giving a professional presentation. But you can imagine what it says. I had amazing friends surround me. When I finished radiation, I rang the bell and we had confetti, and then we all went out for brunch. And when I talk about my friends rallying around me, it was, half the folks in this photo work full time, and they took time off out of their mornings to come and celebrate that day with me, and it meant a lot. This eventually is, once I'm completely fearless, is going to be a tattoo. I want the pink ribbon symbol with fearless in script in there, but I haven't quite gotten over the fear of getting a tattoo just yet. So that's the beginnings of my journey and finding my resilience. I discovered more resilience in reframing my identity. I am all the things I didn't recognize, but that my friends had seen for years. I'm intelligent, I'm witty, I'm fun, and actually I think I'm downright funny at times. I'm ready for adventure, and I'm a really good friend. I am passionate about all the things and no longer apologizing for it. 2019 was my year of cancer, and I survived and thrived. In October, I started a new job at K's and looked forward to 2020 being my year. Ha! The universe had more lessons, and 2020 has provided, or did provide us all, lessons in resilience. During 2020, I focused on rebuilding my strength, taking care of my health, and getting outside. I did a lot of hikes last summer. Sadly, 2020 was also my year of divorce after 33 years of marriage. While my friends rallied around me, in 2019, my husband could not. I survived cancer, but my marriage didn't. Cancer very clearly showed me what I am worth and how I want to be cared for by my partner. So many lessons in an overcoming fear and flexing my resilience muscles. Last November was quite the month. My divorce was final and I started a new job in business management, resilience overload at times. 2020 rang in with new opportunities to discover resilience. 55 years old, no boobs, and how in the world does one date in this century? It's only been 38 years since I've dated. I do have several comical stories that I would share, not in this forum, but over a cocktail at some point, because you can't make up some of the craziness. Today, I'm exploring a new relationship, which is really fun and energizing. Monica 1.0 spent a lot of time waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to live. Monica 2.0 is almost fearless, trying new things, accepting my body for the strong and resilient vessel that it is to live, and stretching myself in ways I couldn't imagine. So these are some pictures of my recent Monica 2.0 adventures. My younger daughter, Maria, came and spent the month of February working from home here in Idaho Falls, and we went and did quite a bit of skiing. So getting back into a sport I had enjoyed but had not done for a good 8 years. And zipping down those slopes, I am hooked again and have my season pass and new ski equipment. I'm ready for the new season. She and I also did some snowshoeing at Harriman, which was absolutely beautiful. This is the fellow that I am exploring a relationship with, Mike, and he has a boat, lives in Rock Springs, and I got to drive that boat, and my hair, I think in this photo, is just hilarious, blowing straight back. It was so much fun, and I was giggling and laughing hysterically just because it was so very invigorating. Sitting by an alpine lake in Wyoming, just completely relaxed, and then having a swim in the very chilly water. Some of y'all might know Phyllis King. We were chatting a couple of days before New Year's Eve, and I have always wanted, in the 22 years I've lived in Idaho, I've always wanted to do a midnight snowshoe hike on New Year's Eve. And so the two of us got our gear out, and we did, and rang in the new year snowshoeing, and somebody was shooting off illegal fireworks overhead. It was absolutely amazing and beautiful. Throwing axes, boy, what great fun. I had a great time doing that. And then this was one of the fish that I caught this summer on some fishing adventures. So today I've shared my experiences in discovering my resilience. It's been just over 2 years since the completion of my cancer treatment, and I'm healthy. I'm learning, growing, and discovering new qualities each and every day. It does seem to be never ending. I encourage you to reflect on your personal discoveries, identify your resilience, and acknowledge your strength and growth. I'd also encourage you to recognize the strength and growth of your colleagues, your friends, and family, because we all need to be reminded of our awesomeness. So this quote that I'm going to share with you, I came across, and I think it really speaks to my path and my journey, but also to the circumstances that we're all facing now with COVID and not being able to follow our plans in a linear way, and the frustration that comes along with it, and how do we take the things that we learn from circumstances and grow and bounce forward. So Tali Lebanon has said that resilience, many like to say that resilience is the ability to bounce back, but I believe it is the ability to bounce forward. This is not a returning to normal. It's a moving forward, carrying with us newly acquired insights and behaviors. The world has changed, but so have we. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Monica, for joining us again. And I would just open it for anyone out there. Any questions or comments for Monica? pretty quiet group in
Yeah.
the afternoon, Monica.
Oh,
But it was a great presentation, and really appreciate the message in it and the comments, coming in. It
yeah.
was a great presentation. You have a great story, and it does go right in line with how difficult things kind of are right now, and it seems like, it can get pretty dark out there, but your story is pretty inspiring. We can all keep going, and we can all do hard things. So
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And we can
it's
also ask
it's a
for
good
help.
one to share.
Yeah, and we can ask for help. And I would encourage you, if you have something like this happen, or you have a friend who does, I am more than happy to talk to somebody about how things have gone through, how things went for me. How did I decide who to go see? And those are the kinds of things that give me a lot of sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. And I've been able to do that with a few people and made some really great, amazing friends. And helping them navigate via the story that I have. So please feel free to reach out to me, or give my contact information to somebody that you think might benefit from conversation. But I thank you all for letting me join you today, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks so much, Monica.